Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Brandon Gill does not hold back not only on this woke, know-nothing Democrat from California, but this entire panel of just terrible witnesses. Let's dive in.
Instead of going after the Department of Ed and USAID, wouldn't it make a lot of sense for us to think about other areas that are right in our face? Listen, the constituents of California's 12th district are paying over $6 billion in tax dollars for DOD. That could pay for 35,000 registered nurses per year and salaries of 50,000 elementary school teachers. If we're serious, sir, about right-sizing our government, I would recommend that we start there in an institution, in a department that has failed seven audits with an estimated multi-trillion dollars of waste and abuse in contracts that go to private companies. Would love to know, Dr. Rash, your thoughts on where we should start.
Congresswoman, thank you for the question. I'd just like to note that throughout this testimony, I've been asked questions about a very, very insignificant proportion of our federal budget, and that is domestic discretionary spending. If the committee is serious about right-sizing government in terms of dollars, then it should not. That very tiny proportion of our overall federal budget has seemed to be the focus throughout this meeting.
Thank you to all the witnesses that came today, and thank you, Dr. Rash, for your answer. I yield back.
Chair recognizes Mr. Gill from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for putting on this hearing. It seems to me that leftists are apoplectic not because our tax dollars are being wasted on idiotic things, but because all of it is being exposed all of the sudden, which I think is certainly a beautiful thing. So much of this government waste has been operating in the shadows where the American people don't know about it and has been largely unaccounted for. And so many of these programs wouldn't exist and will not exist now that they're being exposed. I could give so many examples of wasteful spending, but I'd like to name just a few and get y'all's opinion on these. Just recently, the Department of Health and Human Services spent over $400,000 studying whether lonely rats seek cocaine more often than happy rats do. Mr. Resch, let me ask you, do you think that it is responsible for the federal government to tax working-class American citizens to pay for studies that cost over $400,000 asking whether lonely rats seek cocaine more often than happy rats do?
I have no position on that particular policy. I would need to know more.
You have no position on whether we should be spending taxpayer dollars getting rats high on cocaine?
I know that addiction is an important problem. And if it leads to insights that lead to reductions in addiction, I'm sure that it has a multiplying effect. If that's the case, you would have to see the indicator.
I agree, and I'm going to reclaim my time here. I agree that addiction is a very serious problem, but I doubt that the plumbers and electricians and working class citizens of North Texas that I represent are going to be very happy whenever they find out that they're paying to get rats high. Let me give you another example. We've recently spent $123,000 to teach youth in Kyrgyzstan how to go viral. Mr. Schatz, do you think that that's a good use of taxpayer dollars?
No, I don't.
I don't either. What about you, Mr. Resch?
And no position.
No position. Okay. Got it. Let's do another one then. We've recently spent over $3 million from the Department of State for girl-centered climate action. Mr. Schatz, is that an appropriate use of our tax dollars?
I don't think so.
Mr. Resch?
No position.
No position. Got it. What about, over the past 4 years, the United States has had a grotesque border crisis that was created by the federal government in the Biden administration. Nevertheless, we spent over $2 million for border security in Paraguay. Mr. Schatz, let me ask you, do you think that that is an appropriate use given the context of American taxpayer dollars?
Well, only if it impacted immigrants or whatever you want to call them, people coming to the United States illegally. That might have some merit, but depends on the purpose.
I agree. What about you, Mr. Resch?
Again, depends on the purpose and the outcome.
Got it. I think that that's incredibly enlightening.
Enlightening? Brandon must be holding it together a whole lot better than I would, because I've got another E word. Enraging. That would have ticked me off so bad if I was sitting in that chair where he is, listening to these bat guano crazy answers that are defending the pointless spending. It is no net benefit to the American taxpayer. This is not where our tax dollars need to go. This is what you can find out in the real world, outside of the government bubble, outside of the Beltway. You can find people who will fund your research. All right, Americans are generous like that, and there are going to be organizations that would have a vested interest in finding out. Since we know that rats actually have a similar physiology to us. That's why they are quite literally used as lab rats. And so, understanding some of these studies isn't a bad idea to do. It's just bad for the taxpayer. I do not want my money going to this. This is not what a government should be doing, and these people are defending it. All right, now I'll get to Representative Simon here in a moment, but this is what enrages me more than anything else. The fact that these folks are sitting there with the gall to say, I have no position on what is obviously a frivolous study. Because if they admit for a single moment that that their world, the bubble that they live in can be popped, it's going to get popped. They know that their gravy train relies on this, so they will defend it tooth and nail. This is what the swamp actually looks like. And boy, does it need to be drained. This ain't the Okefenokee, all right? This ain't the Everglades. This is a swamp that needs to be drained. Hey, y'all. Experts say they rig the markets, print the money, and manipulate the system. But here's the truth. They can't print gold. While the dollar weakens, physical gold and silver stay real, tangible, uncontrolled. When banks go digital and emergencies lock you out of your own funds, gold and silver won't need an internet connection or government permission. Their value is outside the system, a time-tested insurance policy against tyranny, inflation, and economic resets. So don't wait until the trap is sprung. Own what the elites hoard behind closed doors. Physical gold and silver off the grid, because when the system fails, real money talks. And to help you learn more about owning physical gold and silver, we have partnered with the great company Goldco, which supports this channel, which we deeply appreciate. So check out PolitibralGold.com for more info and see if you might even qualify for free silver. That's PolitibralGold.com. Now on to Representative Simon and her 12th district. Let's consider the claim for just a moment. I'm going to explain something that is annoying. I don't like this fact, but the reason we spend so much on defense is because it drives our own economy. That's a sad truth, that the American economy is indeed built on the ideas that we might need to heavily subsidize Lockheed and Boeing. Even though Boeing... They still need to get their act together. I'm not trusting any of their products anytime soon. Besides, I grew up just outside the old Bell Bomber plant, which is now Lockheed Martin, so I'm a little biased in that regard. But I grew up with posters of F-22 Raptors and C-130J Hercules and Skunk Works and the B-2 bomber. That's some cool stuff, and it's expensive stuff, but it's also something that helps our economy move forward. It is the ugly truth that you don't go against the defense industry. They deserve to be doged, however. I think they deserve the scrutiny, and some of what Ms. Simon said is actually correct. They failed 7 audits. Recently. There's a whole lot of waste that has occurred in our Department of Defense, and it deserves to be cleaned up. The problem is, you got to be smarter about saying it. This is a freshman representative here. And you don't usually say those words more than once. Remember Dan Crenshaw? He came out against the defense industry. They quickly pulled him aside and said, hey, We do a lot of stuff in your backyard. You do what we say. And lo and behold, he is now one of the more despicable politicians in the conservative base. It's funny how that happens. And so she's probably going to get a stern talking to by someone here in a moment. But the reality is, she is arguing and complaining about the wrong thing. There's at least some economic benefit to our Department of Defense. We have seen less of an economic benefit in our Department of Education and an even less one in USAID. The amount of scandals that we have uncovered, thanks to the Department of Government Efficiency, has been mind-boggling. This used to be stuff of conspiracies. Oh, how can you possibly believe it? This is all just one big conspiracy theory. Well, now it turns out that we were right. This is how a lot of politicians end up making their money and peddling their influence. They sneak these little things in there, here and there, and the very people that they invite to Congress then back them up, pat them on the back, and say, thank you for funding me. What's your super PAC again? God grief. This system needs a good draining. All right? Imagine that you've had a sinus blockage and boy, you need to be drained. This is a problem. All right? This is why we wanted the Department of Government Efficiency. This is why we wanted Elon Musk around. This is why we want to drain the swamp. It should be that simple. But the Democrat Party cannot put themselves in a position where they can even admit for a moment that Donald Trump might be a necessary person, because if they do, again, the bubble I talked about earlier, it gets popped and it will never be unpopped. The bubble bursts, and now the dam is leaking and they're fearing a collapse. Well, folks, the reality is, we're past that point. We know who the Democrats are. We know what they want. We know what they've been talking about. And this is who they are. She does not care one bit. Representative Simon, I don't think, actually cares about teachers. Because, well, let's be honest here. If she did, they would be reforming the entire rotten system, removing teachers that are harming students, and have a better plan for their curriculums. But they do not do this. They do not want this. They want their state-controlled education systems to continue to churn out little minions instead of actual intelligent Americans. This is what they want, and so I'm not believing her for a single second. So good for you, Brandon Gill. Hold all of these people feet to the fire. They need it. But let me know what you think they need down in the comments below. My name is Brian. Hope you enjoy that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. And until then, y'all have a good one.